A massive trial was underway in the heart of the Galactic Federation. The Grand Hall of the High Tribunal was filled with representatives from thousands of species across the known universe. Towering insectoids, reptilian warlords, amorphous energy beings, and cybernetic hybrids all turned their attention to a single figure standing alone in the center of the chamber. A human. The last human. His name was Adrian Carter. He stood with a straight back, his face calm despite the sheer magnitude of what was happening around him. The Federation's Supreme Chancellor, a creature resembling a six-eyed serpent, leaned forward from the judge's podium and hissed. "You stand accused of crimes against the Galactic Federation of sapient species. You are the last remnant of a violent, destructive race that has defied the laws of peace and order. Your actions have led to the destabilization of entire sectors. How do you plead?" Adrian's lips curled into a smirk. His voice was steady as he spoke. "Guilty." The chamber erupted in chaos. A dozen species shouted in outrage. Some called for immediate execution. Others demanded life imprisonment in the deepest void of the universe. But Adrian remained still, his eyes scanning the room. The Chancellor slammed a massive gavel, sending a vibration through the entire hall. "Then let it be known that this tribunal will decide the appropriate punishment for the human. But first, let the records show the full extent of his crimes." A holographic display flickered to life above Adrian's head. It showed a planet being bombarded from orbit. Ships exploding in the darkness of space. Armies of cybernetic warriors falling before a lone figure in power armor. Adrian watched as the images replayed moments from his past battles. The Chancellor's voice echoed through the hall. Humanity was given a chance to integrate. Instead, they resisted. Their fleets destroyed, their world shattered, yet this one man continued to fight. He dismantled entire operations of the Federation, defying our rule again and again. A senator with crystalline skin raised a sharp, glimmering hand. "Let us not forget the Battle of Orjuan Prime. This human infiltrated our command center and sabotaged an entire war fleet. We lost millions of soldiers in a single night." Another alien, its voice a series of clicks and hums, spoke through an interpreter. "The incident at Zypho's station. He turned our own defense systems against us. Hundreds of our greatest minds perished in that disaster." The Chancellor turned his gaze toward Adrian. "Your resistance was futile. You fought for a dead species. What did you hope to achieve?" Adrian chuckled softly. "Hope never crossed my mind." The chamber fell silent. The weight of his words settled over the tribunal. The Federation had spent decades trying to understand human defiance. No matter how many times they crushed Earth's forces, no matter how much technological superiority they wielded, one truth remained. Humans never surrendered. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. "Then tell us why. Why did you fight? Why did you refuse peace?" Adrian exhaled slowly. He glanced at the holographic images still hovering in the air, the memories of war, destruction and loss. He lifted his gaze to meet the Chancellor's unblinking stare. "Because peace was never an option. Not when you demanded our submission. Not when you erased entire cities from existence to prove your dominance. You never wanted peace. You wanted obedience. And humans, we don't kneel." The chamber erupted again. Voices clashed in a cacophony of fury, disbelief and fear. Even now, standing alone, Adrian spoke as if he still had an army behind him. As if humanity was not already reduced to myth and legend. The Chancellor's gavel came down again, silencing the chaos. "Very well. If you refuse to show remorse, then your fate is sealed. By the authority of the Galactic Federation, you are hereby sentenced to." Before the Chancellor could finish, a deafening explosion rocked the tribunal hall. The lights flickered and alarms blared as the entire structure shook. Adrian didn't flinch. Instead, a slow, knowing grin spread across his face. "What is happening?" one of the senators shrieked. A transmission cut through the emergency frequencies, a voice filled with static but unmistakably human. "This is the Ironclad Initiative. We have breached the perimeter. Extraction is in progress." Hold on, Adrian. You're not alone. For the first time since the trial began, uncertainty flickered across the Chancellor's expression. The Federation had wiped out Earth's armies. Their fleets were gone. Their cities were ruins. Humanity was finished. Or so they thought. Adrian clenched his fists and rolled his shoulders. The shackles on his wrists flickered with energy-dampening technology, but he was already calculating his next move. The Federation had underestimated humanity before, and they were about to pay the price for it again. He looked up at the Chancellor one last time, his eyes burning with unyielding defiance. Sentence me later. Right now I have a war to finish. Panic spread through the tribunal hall as emergency sirens howled and security forces scrambled into formation. The walls trembled from the impact of another explosion, and the main doors sealed shut with reinforced plating. Federation guards, clad in advanced exo-armor, took position around Adrian, their weapons charged and aimed directly at him. The Chancellor's voice cut through the chaos, laced with fury. Seal all exits. Mobilize the defense units. No one leaves this chamber. Adrian tilted his head, cracking his neck as he studied the armored guards surrounding him. He felt the energy restraints around his wrists flicker, strong, but not unbreakable. He had escaped worse. The floor beneath them rumbled again, and a section of the ceiling collapsed, sending debris crashing down. A moment later, the chamber's defense systems activated, deploying plasma turrets from the walls. The Federation's elite forces were ready for an external attack. What they weren't ready for was what came next. The main doors didn't explode inward. They melted. A blinding stream of superheated plasma cut through the reinforced metal like it was paper. The edges dripped molten steel as figures in high-tech combat suits stepped through the breach, moving with the precision of seasoned warriors. Their weapons hummed with barely contained energy, and their armor bore an unmistakable insignia, the mark of Earth's last surviving strike force. The Ironclad Initiative. Adrian's smirk widened. Took you long enough. One of the soldiers, clad in sleek black armor with a crimson visor, raised a rifle and shot directly at Adrian's restraints. The energy shackles burst apart, crackling with a dying charge as Adrian flexed his freed hands. We had to make an entrance, the soldier replied. Now move. We've got 3 minutes before reinforcements arrive. The Federation guards opened fire. Blue and green plasma bolts screamed across the chamber. The ironclad soldiers moved like ghosts, dodging with inhuman reflexes and returning fire with ruthless efficiency. The chamber's defensive turrets swiveled toward the intruders, but Adrian was already in motion. He lunged forward, seizing a guard's weapon before slamming his fist into the alien's helmet with bone-crushing force. The armor cracked, and the guard collapsed. Adrian spun the weapon in his hands, adjusting to its weight before unloading a burst of plasma into the nearest turret, reducing it to sparking rubble. The Chancellor, still seated at the high podium, watched in stunned disbelief as the supposed last human fought with the ferocity of an entire army. Impossible. Humanity is extinct. You are a remnant of a dead species. Adrian caught a glimpse of his reflection in the polished floor, his face smeared with dust and battle scars, his eyes burning with the fire of a soldier who had nothing left to lose. He turned to the Chancellor, his voice unwavering. Extinct? Then tell me, Chancellor, why are we still here? The ironclad soldiers secured the perimeter, cutting down Federation forces with brutal efficiency. One of them tossed Adrian a combat knife, and he caught it mid-air without breaking stride. We need an exit route, another soldier called out. More hostiles incoming. Adrian scanned the chamber, assessing their options. The Federation had built this place like a fortress, but every fortress had a weakness. His gaze locked onto the reinforced observation window overlooking the city below. He tightened his grip on the knife. Then let's make one. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the nearest console and slammed his fist into the control panel. Sparks erupted as the security locks disengaged. The observation window's protective barriers flickered for a fraction of a second, just enough time. One of the ironclad soldiers fired a charged plasma round directly at the glass. The reinforced material held for a moment, then shattered outward in a cascade of molten fragments. The city skyline stretched before them, a maze of towering spires and hovering patrol drones. The soldier with the crimson visor activated a small device on their wrist. A second later, a sleek, heavily armored dropship uncloaked just beyond the shattered window, hovering in place with its side bay open. Adrian turned to the Chancellor one last time, meeting the alien's furious gaze. "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Then, without another word, he sprinted toward the open air and leaped. The wind roared around him as he plunged toward the dropship. For a split second, it felt like falling through the void, like the countless times he had been shot down, abandoned, left for dead. But this time, hands reached for him. Strong, unyielding. The ironclad soldiers pulled him aboard, and the dropship's doors slammed shut. Engines roared to life as the ship banked hard, weaving through the city's defense grid while alarms blared across the skyline. Adrian took a deep breath as the reality of the moment settled in. He wasn't alone. Humanity wasn't gone. And the war was far from over. The dropship's engines roared as it weaved through the towering spires of the Galactic Federation's capital. Defense turrets locked on, and the first wave of automated drones gave chase, unleashing streaks of plasma fire. The cockpit flared red with warning signals as the ship's pilot, a grizzled woman with a neural link jack embedded in her temple, pulled the controls hard to the left. "Hang on, this is about to get rough." Adrian braced himself as the ship banked, dodging incoming fire by mere inches. He turned to the armored soldier with the crimson visor, the one who had broken his restraints. "You mind telling me who the hell you are and how you knew I was here?" The soldier reached up, unlatched the visor, and pulled it free, revealing a sharp-jawed woman with piercing green eyes. Her face was lined with battle-worn determination. "Captain Rhea Solis, Ironclad Initiative. We've been looking for you for a long time." Adrian studied her face. He had fought beside 100 different squads during humanity's last stand, but hers wasn't one he recognized. "I thought I was the last." "That's exactly what the Federation wanted you to believe," Rhea said. "But we're still here. Scattered. Underground. Fighting in the shadows. We had no way to reach you until now." Adrian clenched his fists. The Federation hadn't just tried to exterminate humanity. They had buried the survivors under layers of deception, making sure any resistance believed they were truly alone. "So what's the plan?" he asked. Before Rhea could answer, the ship jolted violently. A direct hit rocked the rear thrusters, sending a trail of fire spiraling into the air. The pilot cursed, struggling to stabilize. "We just lost our primary engines," she shouted. "We won't make it to the rendezvous point." Adrian pushed past the others and peered out of the viewport. Below them stretched the lower industrial zones of the city, factories, shipping yards, and sprawling mechanical complexes. "Take us down there," he said. "Are you insane?" "That sector is crawling with enforcers," Rhea snapped. "It's also got enough infrastructure to lose them in," Adrian countered. "We won't survive another hit up here. Get us on the ground, now." Rhea hesitated, then slammed a fist on the comms panel. "All units, prepare for emergency landing." The dropship careened downward, dodging another barrage of enemy fire as it descended into the industrial sprawl. As they neared the surface, Adrian spotted a massive freight hauler moving through one of the loading docks. "Aim for that," he ordered. The pilot gritted her teeth but followed through, angling the damaged ship toward the hauler's open cargo bay. The dropship skidded into the metal interior with a deafening screech, sparks flying as it crashed into a stack of supply crates. The moment they landed, Adrian was already moving. "Everybody out. We need to disappear." The squad disembarked quickly, weapons at the ready. The freight hauler's automated systems didn't seem to recognize their intrusion. It continued its route, heading toward the deep levels of the industrial complex. Rhea caught up to Adrian as they took cover behind a row of crates. "All right, Carter, we're on the ground. Now tell me how the hell you plan to get us out of here alive." Adrian scanned the environment. The Federation would be deploying ground forces any second now, and they had limited time to escape. Then he spotted it, a network of underground transport tunnels running beneath the loading docks. A perfect way to vanish. We move fast and quiet, he said. Those tunnels lead out of the city. We use them to regroup and plan our next move. Rhea frowned. And after that? Adrian turned to her, his eyes burning with a fire that had never died. Then, Captain, we stop running. We take the fight to them. Rhea studied him for a moment, then nodded. Then let's get to work. The freight hauler rumbled as it moved deeper into the industrial zone, massive hydraulic arms shifting cargo in precise, mechanical motions. Adrian led the way, keeping low as the squad moved along the edge of the towering crates. Above them, searchlights from patrol drones cut through the dimly lit corridors, scanning for any trace of intruders. The Federation wasn't going to let them escape that easily. They reached the edge of the hauler's cargo bay and peered down at the platform below. The underground transport tunnels were just beneath them, their entrances marked by security gates and automated sentry turrets. Adrian studied the layout, his mind racing through possible entry points. We don't have long, Rhea muttered. They'll lock this sector down in minutes. Adrian nodded. We do this clean. No unnecessary noise. He signaled two of the ironclad soldiers, who moved swiftly toward a nearby control panel. With precise movements, they hacked into the system, disabling the sentry turrets just as the rest of the squad dropped down onto the platform. Adrian landed in a crouch, his pulse steady as he led them toward the tunnel entrance. Then, an alarm blared. The security gates slammed shut, and the platform was flooded with flashing red lights. A booming voice echoed through the facility. Attention! Unauthorized personnel detected. Deploying enforcer units. Doors along the perimeter hissed open, and squads of heavily armed Federation enforcers poured into the sector. Their sleek, armored forms moved in perfect synchronization, plasma rifles raised and ready to fire. Adrian didn't hesitate. Move now. The first shots erupted as the ironclad squad dashed for cover. Plasma bolts scorched the metal flooring as Adrian rolled behind a stack of supply crates, his stolen weapon snapping up to fire. His shot struck the nearest enforcer in the visor, sending the soldier crashing backward. Rhea's voice crackled through the comms. We need another way through. That tunnel's a death trap now. Adrian's eyes darted across the battlefield. The enforcers were advancing fast, forcing them into a bottleneck. Then he saw it, a towering freight lift on the far end of the platform. It led to the lower levels, where they could lose the enemy in the labyrinth of underground infrastructure. New plan, he called out. We take the lift. Rhea glanced at the structure, then back at the enforcers closing in. That's a hell of a gamble. Adrian smirked. Welcome to being human. Without waiting, he broke from cover, sprinting across the open floor. Enforcer fire rained down around him, but he didn't stop. His legs burned with the effort, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. He reached the lift control panel and slammed his fist into the activation switch. The machinery groaned to life, the platform beginning its slow descent. Go. Now. The squad moved in unison, covering each other as they sprinted toward the lift. A soldier took a hit to the shoulder but pushed forward, gritting his teeth against the pain. Rhea and the last two fighters provided covering fire, taking down enforcers with ruthless precision before leaping onto the platform. As soon as they were aboard, Adrian slammed the emergency override, forcing the lift into a rapid descent. The enforcers rushed toward the edge, firing down into the shaft, but it was too late. The squad disappeared into the depths below. Darkness swallowed them as the lift sped downward, the sounds of battle fading above. Adrian exhaled, gripping the railing as the platform rumbled beneath them. Rhea looked over at him, eyes still sharp with adrenaline. You keep pulling off impossible stunts like that, Carter, and I might start believing in miracles. Adrian smirked, rolling his shoulders. It's not a miracle. It's just human nature. The lift reached the lower levels with a heavy thud. As the doors opened, revealing the endless maze of tunnels stretching before them. Adrian knew one thing for certain. This war was just beginning. The underground tunnels stretched out in endless directions, a vast network of forgotten infrastructure buried beneath the Federation capital. Old rail tracks, conveyor belts, and massive pipes lined the damp metallic walls, their surfaces slick with condensation. The air was thick with the scent of rust and machine oil. Adrian stepped off the lift first, his weapon raised as he scanned their surroundings. The tunnels were abandoned, at least for now. But he knew better than to trust silence. Rhea moved up beside him, glancing at the flickering lights overhead. How long before they track us down? Adrian kept walking, his boots echoing against the metal floor. Not long. The Federation won't let us slip away that easily. They'll send drones first, then strike teams. One of the ironclad soldiers, a younger recruit with a cybernetic eye, checked his scanner. These tunnels lead to the outer districts, but we've got motion signals up ahead. Could be old machinery, or something worse. Rhea glanced at Adrian. You ever been down here before? He shook his head. No, but places like this? They always have a back door. They moved cautiously, weaving through the maze of tunnels while keeping their weapons at the ready. The further they went, the colder it became, the air filled with the distant hum of ancient machines still running on residual power. Then, just as they rounded a corner, the motion scanner beeped sharply. Contact. 20 meters ahead. The squad froze. Adrian pressed his back against the wall, signaling for silence. He inched forward, peering into the dimly lit corridor. At first, there was nothing. Just pipes, abandoned crates, and flickering lights. Then something moved. A shadow detached from the wall, its form sleek and insectoid. More figures followed, stepping into the dim glow of the emergency lights. Their bodies were covered in segmented armor, their elongated limbs ending in razor-sharp claws. Their eyes, glowing a faint blue, locked onto the humans. Rhea cursed under her breath. Talon Striders. Adrian's grip on his weapon tightened. He had encountered these creatures before, bioengineered predators used by the Federation for underground patrols. Fast, silent, and designed for one purpose. Hunting. The Striders didn't wait. With unnatural speed, they lunged forward. Adrian fired first, his plasma rounds tearing through the air. The nearest Strider recoiled as its chest erupted in molten flesh, but the others kept coming. The squad opened fire, the tunnel flashing with bursts of energy as the creatures weaved between shots, their movements impossibly quick. One of the soldiers was too slow. A Strider pounced, its claws slashing through his armor. He let out a strangled gasp before collapsing, his body motionless. Fall back, Adrian ordered. Keep them at a distance. The squad moved, firing as they retreated deeper into the tunnels. The Striders pursued relentlessly, their shrieks echoing through the underground. Adrian's mind raced. They couldn't outrun them forever. Then he saw it. An old maintenance door on the left, its rusted hinges barely holding together. He sprinted toward it, slamming his shoulder into the panel. The door groaned but didn't budge. Rhea. Help me. She rushed forward, planting her boot against the metal. Together, they forced it open just as the Striders closed in. Inside. Now. The squad dove in, Adrian and Rhea shoving the door shut behind them. The Striders slammed against the metal, their claws screeching against the surface. Adrian didn't wait. He grabbed a nearby pipe and jammed it through the handles, locking it in place. The creatures shrieked, pounding against the barrier, but for now, it held. Breathing heavily, Rhea turned to Adrian. Tell me this back door of yours leads somewhere useful. Adrian looked around. The room was filled with old equipment, maps of the underground sprawled across a dusty console. He stepped forward, wiping away the grime. His eyes narrowed as he traced a path on the schematic. It does. And if this is right, we're about to take a shortcut straight into the heart of the Federation's command network. Rhea let out a sharp breath. You really don't do things the easy way, do you? Adrian smirked, his adrenaline still surging. Not when there's a war to win. The room was filled with the low hum of ancient machinery, the flickering light of long-forgotten monitors casting eerie shadows against the walls. Adrian traced his fingers along the map etched onto the console, his mind racing. This tunnel here. It leads straight into a classified sector of the Federation's network grid. If we reach it, we can access their communication relays, disrupt their surveillance, maybe even hijack their command protocols. Rhea leaned over, studying the schematic. You're saying we break into the heart of the Federation's digital infrastructure with a handful of weapons and a map that's older than we are? Adrian smirked. I'm saying we make them blind, deaf, and paranoid. And in the chaos, we make our next move. The pounding on the barricaded door grew louder. The Striders hadn't given up. Their claws screeched against the metal, the sound sharp enough to make the younger soldiers flinch. The barricade wouldn't last much longer. Rhea exhaled. Then we move now. Adrian activated the console, rerouting emergency power to a secondary tunnel entrance. A nearby wall panel groaned as it slid open, revealing a narrow corridor lined with rusted pipes and tangled cables. Through there. Stay sharp. The squad slipped into the passage, weapons at the ready. The air was thick with dust and the scent of burning circuits. It was clear no one had set foot here in years. The deeper they moved, the colder it became, the walls lined with old conduits still pulsing with residual energy. Then, up ahead, the corridor opened into a vast underground chamber. Rows of inactive servers stretched into the darkness, their surfaces coated in grime. Federation symbols were still faintly visible on the metal casing. This was an abandoned relay station, a remnant of the Federation's older network infrastructure. Adrian approached the central console, wiping away a layer of dust. All right. If this still works, we can tap into the Federation's main grid without setting off immediate alarms. We just need to be fast. Rhea signaled two of the ironclad technicians forward. You heard him. Get us in. The two soldiers moved quickly, their fingers flying across the console as they bypassed layers of security protocols. The screens flickered, data streams flowing in chaotic patterns before finally stabilizing. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. We're in, one of the techs confirmed. Federation network access granted. Adrian didn't waste a second. He scrolled through the data feeds, bypassing encrypted files, scanning live transmissions. Then he found what he was looking for. Real-time troop deployments. Command orders. High-level encrypted communications. His eyes narrowed as he traced the patterns. The Federation wasn't just reacting to their escape. They were mobilizing something much bigger. Rhea noticed the shift in his expression. What is it? Adrian tapped the screen, pulling up a set of classified orders. They weren't just after me. They've been preparing for something far worse. A full-scale planetary purge. The room went silent. The implications were clear. The Federation wasn't just hunting down scattered human survivors. They were preparing to erase entire sectors, wiping out resistance before it could rise. Rhea clenched her fists. How long do we have? Adrian scanned the orders. Less than 48 hours. And if we don't stop it, everything we've fought for, everyone left, it's over. One of the techs cursed. Then we need to get out of here before they trace us. Adrian nodded, already inputting a new command. Not yet. We leave them a parting gift first. With a few keystrokes, he initiated a viral loop within the Federation's network. A subtle but devastating digital strike, corrupting system diagnostics, scrambling fleet coordination, and planting false intelligence reports. By the time the Federation realized the breach, their own infrastructure would be in chaos. Adrian stepped back. Now we move. The squad sprinted back into the tunnels as distant alarms started blaring. The Federation knew something was wrong. And soon, they'd come looking. Rhea ran alongside Adrian, her breath steady despite the urgency. You just started a fire in the middle of their empire. Adrian smirked. Good. Let's see how well they burn. The tunnels trembled as distant explosions rocked the city above. Adrian could already imagine the chaos unfolding within the Federation's command centers, false orders sending fleets in the wrong direction, corrupted diagnostics shutting down security grids, entire communication networks collapsing under the weight of their own complexity. They weren't just running anymore. They had just become the Federation's worst nightmare. Rhea kept pace beside him, her visor displaying tactical readouts as she scanned their escape routes. You really did it, Carter. Their entire network is collapsing. Adrian kept his rifle close, his mind already planning their next move. It's not enough. They'll recover. We need to hit something they can't rebuild. The squad emerged from the tunnels into a massive industrial yard on the outskirts of the city. Towering structures loomed above them, shipyards, fuel depots, and a fleet of unmanned transport vessels lined up for automated departure. Adrian's eyes locked onto the largest structure in the yard, a heavily fortified facility marked with the Federation's insignia. A weapons depot. He turned to Rhea. That's our next target. Rhea followed his gaze and smirked. You're thinking big. I like it. The squad moved quickly, staying in the shadows as they approached the facility. Federation forces were already mobilizing across the city, but this depot wasn't on high alert, yet. They had one chance to take it before reinforcements arrived. Adrian led the charge, taking out the perimeter guards with ruthless efficiency. The ironclad soldiers moved with precision, securing key access points as they pushed deeper into the facility. Alarms blared as the depot's defense systems activated, but it was too late. The control room was theirs. Adrian scanned the depot's inventory, his expression darkening as he realized the scale of what the Federation had been stockpiling. Enough weapons to arm a planetary invasion. Rhea stepped beside him, her voice sharp. We can't let this fall back into their hands. Adrian nodded. We won't. He set the detonation sequence, linking the charges to the depot's central power core. In 3 minutes, this place would be nothing more than a crater. The squad sprinted for the exit as sirens screamed through the complex. Federation forces had finally caught up. Troops poured in from the main gates, their weapons blazing. Adrian fired as he ran, cutting down soldiers as the squad fought their way toward the transport vessels. They reached the nearest ship, a sleek, high-speed freighter designed for quick planetary jumps. Rhea fired up the engines as Adrian took the co-pilot seat. Federation dropships were closing in fast, but it didn't matter. The moment they cleared the launch pad, the entire depot erupted in a massive explosion, the shockwaves sending enemy forces scattering. As they ascended into the sky, Rhea glanced at Adrian, her expression unreadable. This isn't just about survival anymore, is it? Adrian watched the burning wreckage below, his grip tightening on the controls. No. We're done running. The Federation wanted to exterminate humanity. Now they'll learn what it means to fear us. Rhea smirked. Then let's make history. The ship vanished into the stars, leaving only fire and chaos in its wake. The war wasn't over. But for the first time in years, humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win.